Oh, I'm so sorry, Jody. Yeah,
It's okay.
yeah. Thank you for tuning in. I didn't expect that you're gonna have time, especially with so many babies around you.
It's okay.
Yeah, yeah. All right,
So
yeah.
how are you?
Good, good. I'm just moving to the next module as Joe was recommending and also suggesting. But still, yeah. I mean, my goal was to make a video, but if you cannot, you cannot. You're gonna do whatever you can. Uh, my suggestion, I send you some questions about properties. Do you live in a house or you live in a residential building?
Yes, we live in a house.
And have you ever lived in a residential? Do you have any experience there? Or if you don't mind to ask me,
Um,
any challenges with that mortgage, maintenance? That was my primary question.
about the mortgage? No.
Mhm. What about the maintenance planning? Because I think that nevertheless, where you're living, you have to have a plan how to maintain the house or any property if you have, if you think that it's feasible, of course, Jody.
You mean to be able to set money aside
Yeah.
to do the repairs?
Yes.
Um, we don't have an exact fund for that, but we do. Like we always have a savings account that we can just pull out of if we need to do maintenance.
Mhm. Yeah, because here, when I'm seeing it in British Columbia, and I'm sure in States probably the same, that people do not plan and then they end up finally paying a little special levy or any kind of extra fees. That's why I want to download your wisdom, if you allow me, how you're planning that, how often you're seeing the house, whether you have a registered engineering or home inspectors, or you just do it everything by yourself.
Yeah, that is a good question. My husband is actually a home inspector. So
Oh,
you have called the right house because we do take care of our house. Our air conditioner actually needs to be serviced right now. But
okay, okay.
yeah, my husband, yeah, I mean, whenever anything needs to be fixed, it just gets fixed because that's what we do. But my husband is a home inspector, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that was my request. Which is your biggest kind of challenge recently, but you have it, and how is the best way to approach it, if you don't mind? I mean, but you have, I think technically you answered the question that you actually have to do it right away, not postpone it. Is that am I correct? Yeah.
That is correct. You should not postpone. We actually have for our company. I can send it to you if you'd like. We
Okay.
have several things that we actually give our customers. One of them is a life cycle list,
Mm-hmm.
which tells them how long things will last if they're serviced properly. Like for instance, the furnace and the air conditioner and the water heater should
Mm-hmm.
be serviced
Mm-hmm.
and looked at yearly. And if they're not, that of course did, can determine how long that system will last. And so, like for instance, a water heater really only lasts 10 to 15 years, depending on the maker of it. And most people think that, I mean, we do homes where sometimes they've been in there for 30 years and, they're very outdated and not well kept. And so that's one of the big things that we see a lot is that furnaces, air conditioners, and water heaters are not serviced.
I see. Yeah, you actually answered many questions at once because I would like to ask you how did you solve the issues, but you said that you're addressing them, you're not postponing them. That so you kind of make a budget for that,
Yes,
and also usually if something doesn't work out, I'm sure your husband is going and look for other options. Is that right?
yes. Yeah. So if the air conditioner or the furnace went out, of course we would just have to take money out of savings to pay for that.
Mm-hmm.
But it should be budgeted to be done with a company, and it's usually in my local area. I think it's about $150 twice a year. So in the fall, they come and do the heater, and it's $150 just to service it, clean it, check it, and make sure it's working properly. And then in the spring, they do the air conditioner and service it, fill it with Freon, and make sure that everything's okay. So it's like $150 twice a year. So it's $300 a year that people should budget for, that most often they don't.
Yeah, that's a good recommendation, because we as a strata managers or property managers, whatever, we cannot force people to do that. I mean, whether you listen, yeah. I mean, in some regions, I mean, in Canada, I'm sure in States, sometimes people take the budget of the owners and they just go and do it. But here we always recommending, we always trying, I mean, to force it, but we cannot make them. We cannot make to do them. And many times we need lawyers. Like today, I was surprised by a lawyer. Let's say if you're in a house, you can do it. You have a fence project, and fence project is saying if you're a house owner, you do it by phases or not. It's up to your budget. But here it's a little bit different, because according to the law in British Columbia, I'm sure in States it's almost the same. You have to go to all owners to start this project. Nevertheless, let's say you might start it a little bit today and then postpone it for the next year, like board members wanted. But now I figure out, and kind of was a cold water for me, because I'm not a lawyer, but I'm dealing with that the lawyer says, no, sir, you have to go to the owners either way, because you cannot spend the money of the owners without telling them. Yeah.
That is the same case here. So if you were putting up a fence, you would have to get the permission from your neighbor, but it's still up to the neighbor whether or not they want to split the cost. They don't have to split the cost with you. In California, it's not required that they split the cost. It would be nice if they did, but it's not required. But you do have to get permission.
Oh boy, so it's the same issue. You're right, and that's why I get a little bit slapped today. But anyway, we learn where we grow. Anyway, I mean, because the board members, and that's what my goal and desire to make this project of mine. And thank you for participating. Is the fact that people don't want to take responsibility, and they were asking for me for advice, and I was thinking that they can go through, because the fence is old, it's 10 years old, and it's wobbling, and so on and so forth. So there is some kind of law, I mean, between the lines saying that if it's a very bad condition or to prevent the loss, you can still start the project, start something.
Yes.
But that's why where the lawyer was saying it's arguable whether you convince me to wait for 20 days more or for 30 days more or not. So you're right. Yeah, you always have to get the permission of everybody, or at least to reach them out, rather than you think that you're right, and then you might get penalized for that.
Yeah. And I would always recommend getting a second opinion from a home inspector. I mean, they look at the fences, they look at all parts of the house. So get a second opinion from a professional, and then you'll have someone else on your side.
Yeah, what are some things that to look out for? I mean, when you're going to recommend generally for the owners when they buy a house or any property, what are you going to recommend from your own experience, Jodi?
Well, from my own experience, I'm a real estate agent as well. So,
excellent.
I don't actually practice real estate right now, but of course I help in my husband's business in the home inspections. And so coming from the home inspection and the realtor side, at least in California, most water heaters are not properly installed or properly secured for earthquakes. And that is one of the biggest things that we see on every house. Granted, it's not a deal killer, but it can cause some damage if something does happen. And so pretty much on every house that we inspect, we write up something about a water heater.
Wow. Yeah, and especially with these high temperatures, they are bigger than here in British Columbia, for sure. People complaining. Yeah, what made the difference for you before you become a real estate agent and after you become, let's say, dealing with these issues?
Yeah, you know, before, I don't know, I think I was pretty naive. I would just look at the aesthetics and see if my family would fit into the space.
Mhm.
But now that I know so much more, I'm looking actually at the structure and the systems rather than the aesthetics and seeing if my family will fit in. Of course, I still want it to look nice, but I'm looking more at the systems of the home more so than just if my family will like it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, now you're looking as a professional, and now you know. I mean, you look at the whole issues from different angles, not only
Yes.
from one angle. And also the same with me. Comparing with the country which I'm coming from, there is no the strata councils. Actually, there is, but it's very vague, and you're doing everything by your own, whether you're living in a residential house. There you
Yes.
have to do everything. Here is a little bit different. Here you have this HOA or whatever you name it, and strata or condominium act. And so you have to go and ask permissions all the time. And it's designed to help people to understand that they're not living alone. And you have to create this community spirit and always understanding rather than going and doing whatever you think you are right and then figure out that probably you're not right.
Yes.
But I understand this because I said somewhere else that, let's say in England, they're trying to do so now, and people are rejecting it. And here, nobody was asking the owners. They just United States government and Canadian government decided that it's best for all. And really, I can see now why they did it, because without it, you don't have extra cash for, especially for residential buildings, for roofs, for fans, for anything.
Yes. Yes, that is very true. I think every homeowner, I mean, I don't do it, of course. Anyway, we should, but we always have money in our savings, so I'm not worried about that. But I think especially like my son and daughter-in-law and my children own homes. And we always tell them that they should take at least, $50 to $100 a month and put it in a savings account for when you need the service on your home. But they don't do that, of course, but they need to, but they don't.
Yeah, that's excellent because this is the mindset also. I have strata board members and owners, they advise to increase, some of them, they don't want to increase the strata fees or the maintenance fees, which is the same thing. I mean,
Right.
mandatory, but if you're an owner, if you don't put it, then you get surprised and get slapped from economy or from anything. That's the mindset.
Exactly.
That's what the mindset, and actually it's in your sphere about the relationships. It's also a relationship between the owners and starting with your own family. How are you going to expand it? That's the problem. Even today, people are calling, they want help, but they think that they're entitled to it, which is also kind of very strange for me because I'm coming from that kind of society, which people, my parents, they think, oh, these guys should do it for me. They owe me. The life owes me. It's actually it's in reverse. And I was surprised that here also I've seen the same issue. Nevertheless, we were living in different regimes, as they say, because I remember when I was younger, when the democracy came, and this and so, and finally people were, especially the age of my parents, they were very surprised unpleasantly when they have to start from scratch, everything, just living in a new country. So that's the attitude which you have to have. That's why only house owners have the advantage of that, to put the money on the side, to look the problem in the eyes, whether it's relationship problem, whether it's your neighbor, whether it's communication, and to find this unity in the community, as I like this quote from my customer.
Yeah.
Jody, thank you for your time. I'd like to be more short. I know your schedule is I hope you benefit from our conversation. And if I request in future for the future presentation, I hope you don't mind about that. And if you have time, of course, Jody.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, let's do that. I will send you some information too about what we send our clients, so that maybe it will help you in the future.
Yeah, Jody, it's a really pleasure to me to speak with you, and thank you for your support online. And see you soon.
All right, thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you. The same to you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.